All right, let's start out by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. Bahashem Yahweh Shai. The name of this one is, But There Was No Breath in Them. This is a direct quote from the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. And, Lord's will, we're going to get to it. And the inspiration for this lesson pretty much came from a video that was sent to me by the Elder Bishop Inup. This is a new movie that I believe is supposed to be out already. I believe it's supposed to come out, well, actually only in theaters 2021. It's called Judas and the Black Messiah, official trailer. You got the Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield. My man Lakeith Stanfield, which if they ever made a movie about Israel, he could play the Elder Mount Gun. He'll be Elder Mount Gun in the movie. It's an ongoing movie. We got just a little inside joke. In this movie, they're pretty much showing you how Daniel Kaluuya, if that's how you pronounce his name, he plays the character of Fred Hampton from the Black Panthers, and Lakeith, he plays the infiltrator. I believe his name was William O'Neill, something like that. And pretty much, they just show you how the Black Panther, pretty much any group you have out there of Jake, have been infiltrated. The famous quote from that Homo Hoover, if there's going to be any black messiahs, we're going to create them. Because one thing they don't want is they don't want Jake coming back together. Because they know that that's a powerhouse. This is why you had the Willie Lynch letters, the Jim Crow laws, and all of that stuff to keep Jake divided. Especially Judah, the so-called Negroes, because they are the head tribe. And once they come together and get their stuff together, then everything else falls in place, because then you have Ephraim and the other tribes all coming together. And this is something that these devils fear. This is why the Lord said this in the book of Psalms, chapter 50, because we are divided, but now the Lord is bringing us back together as one, under one banner. And this is the reason why we have the 12 tribe sign with all 12 tribes and their ancient names biblically and the modern day names that were given to us by the slave master. So this is Psalms chapter 50 verse 21. It says, "These things hast thou done," dealing with Esau, speaking against his son, his mother's son, which are the Israelites, doing all manner of wickedness, framing mischief, as it says here, and doing all type of manner of wickedness. It says, "These things hast thou done, and I kept silence." So the Lord kept silence throughout all this time where we've been under curses and been pretty much jacked up. And this is why you have people now, even among Jake, saying that there's no help is coming. You are it. That's it. It's life is what you make it. There's no help coming. Don't forget about looking for some Jesus, which that's not his name anyway. His name is Yahweh Shai. But this is why you have a lot of Jakes now saying that. You have Esau been saying that because they don't believe in the Most High anyway. For the most part, that there's no help coming. We got to build this stuff ourselves. We got to look at all this time that went by and nothing has ever happened. Who delivered us from slavery? Who delivered Gad from the so-called white man taking over this land? Who delivered the so-called Latin tribes from the onslaught that Esau had and came upon them, upon our forefathers and all that. Whoever stepped in to do anything about it. So this is the mindset that they have today. Because they don't believe that there's going to be any type of spiritual intervention between the most oppressed nation, which are the Israelites, from a heavenly being, power, Yahweh, and which will send his son Yahweh Shai to deliver us. So it says, these things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself. Yeah, because they bought their own lie, and seeing that they did what they did to us and nothing happened to them, they said, well, wait a minute, the Lord must be on our side. He must be one of us. It says, but I will reprove thee, and they are being reproved right now, because before any judgment comes, reproof comes first. Prophesying comes first. It says, and set them in order before thine eyes. And we're being set up in order before this devil's eyes. And they're seeing that, and this is why they're doing what they do. And the word for order is Iraq. You know, to arrange, set or put or lay in order, set in array, prepare. And we're being prepared right now. You know, order, you know, we're being prepared, we're being adorned as a bride getting ready to be married to the bridegroom, which the bridegroom being Yahweh Shai, the bride being the nation of Israel. Order, ordain, handle, furnish, esteem, equal, direct, compare. So that's pretty much the main thing, is to prepare, to set an array, to put in order. So we're being put in order before this devil's eyes. And they're not liking what they see. Because when you go to the book of Revelation, the 11th chapter, it says, great fear fell upon them, which saw them stand upon their feet. Because it wasn't because of the help of Esau that we woke up. You know, it wasn't because the nations did anything to spark, you know, that desire or that interest or that truth in us to wake up. It was the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai that moved on certain men that started to read into the scriptures, the Old and New Testament, the Apocrypha, started to understand certain things. You know, the spirit started working with them and started revealing many different things to them, and that we are the true people of the Lord, and that's what started it. So it wasn't any nation, Edomites or other nations, that did that, you know. So what I want to do is let's go right into Ezekiel, and when you get a chance, just watch the trailer. It's a pretty good trailer. And I'll say about Fred Hampton, you know, he was sincere, but he was sincerely wrong. You know, he really cared about, you know, Jake, you know, Judah. He really wanted to, you know, make a difference. You know, he really cared and loved his people that much that he really wanted to do something, you know, to change, you know. But the thing is that he was building with the wrong thing. He was building with untempered mortar, as it speaks of in the book of Ezekiel, the 13th chapter. He wasn't building upon the foundation, you know, which the foundation is Yahweh Shai. That is the rock. And if you're not building upon that, then you're building wrong. And the reason why certain Israelites shun that is because when they think about Jesus, they think about the so-called white man. And that's why you should not be calling on no Jesus. You know, you shouldn't be calling on that name, because his name is Yahweh Shai. Now, if you say who the world ignorantly calls Jesus or Christ, then that's one thing. But it's very important to keep pushing the true names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. So he wasn't doing that, although he was sincere. You know, Malcolm X at one point, he was sincere. You know, so you had certain individuals out there that were sincere, but they just weren't building with the right building blocks and using the proper mortar to bring the bricks together one to another. So this is where we get the valley of the dry bones, as you've seen in the beginning here, a bunch of bones, you know. And this would be, I mean, this is just a picture, but this would be like a representation of the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, when they are not clothed with the truth of who they are, you know, as being Israelites. That's why we have the book of Proverbs 21 and 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. You know, does that mean that they're physically dead? No, they're mentally dead, spiritually dead, and they have to be reawoken. They have to be resuscitated And that's what this truth has done. That breath came in and resuscitated those bones. All right, so let's get to it. Ezekiel 37:1. And by the way, the name of the title, "But there was no breath in them," came from the 8th verse. So we're going to read Ezekiel 37:1. "The hand of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai was upon me, and he carried me out in the spirit of the Lord, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones." So the Lord took Ezekiel, and set him in the midst of America, in the midst of Jake. All right. And this valley, which is a valley, is a lowland, was full of bones. See? So this is just like a picture to kind of give you like an idea of the vision, and of the situation that the prophet Ezekiel found himself in. I'm trying to see if I could find a picture, to give you a better understanding, just minus the Edomite looking individual, but this is a valley. See how you have the hills and mountains, and then you have the lowland, which is a valley full of bones. All right. So this is somewhat what, this is what happened pretty much, so you could understand. All right. So like I said, minus the Edomite figure, it was a Jake, of course. It says, and caused me to pass by them round about. So he was walking in the midst of all of these bones. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Why? Because they had no moisture. And what is the moisture? The word. Ephesians. Let's go to Ephesians 5:26. It says, Ephesians 5:26, that he may sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. See? So the word is the water that washes. Let's go real quick to Psalms 119. Psalms 119:9. It says, wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word. Why? Because the word is the cleansing agent. All right. So when Ezekiel saw these bones, they were very dry because they had no water. They had no oil. All right. So this would be, a representation of Israel being in a state where they just didn't know anything. They just was walking. Because remember, at one time, from Canada all the way down to South America, all the tribes didn't know what the hell was going on. They just knew that they were being oppressed, and that was it. They knew there was in a land that their forefathers had that was taken from them, and they were being oppressed. But as far as knowledge was concerned of who they were, they had no clue. They were calling themselves about all kind of different names that were given to them by Esau, and whatever other names they were calling themselves that were not given to them by Esau, those still weren't the right ones. It says, and he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord, thou knowest, because they were so dry, they were so gone, that Ezekiel was like, Lord, only you know. It says again, he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Because when those dry bones heard the word, then they started to wake up. Okay? And what happened during the 60s and 70s, you had a great awakening happening, because you had the men of the Lord back then teaching the word. There was a great awakening happening because they came to the conclusion that, look, this ain't going to change. So we have to do something. We have to take a stand, to defend ourselves, because they're not defending us. And this is why the scriptures say what? That no man shall buy you, no man shall save you. There shall be no might in thy hands, so on and so forth. So all of those things that they did pretty much were in vain, but then again necessary because prophecy had to be fulfilled. All right, it says, thus saith the Lord power unto these bones. Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. Now keep in mind this breath, this word breath here. All right, keep in mind that word breath. It says, and I will lay sinews upon you. Now sinews are what? Ligaments. Those are the connective tissue that connects muscles and bones together, you know, or muscle to bone or muscle to muscle. You know, sometime when you eat, you know, chicken or you know, or different steak, but you know, chicken, they have those little like tendons and stuff inside of them. You know, that's part of the sinew or the thing that connected. So what this is a representation of is the truth that didn't connect the bone to bone. They were looking at each other as, oh, you black, you my black brother, you know, or you my Latino brother, or whatever the case, or you my Indian brother, a North American Indian brother. But as far as calling himself Judah or Yehoiada, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Simeon, Gad, Reuben, that wasn't there. The connection between the truth of the scriptures, that they are the Israelites, that who the Most High is, who Yahweh is, that the Heavenly Father is a so-called black man, his son is a so-called black man, that was not there. You know, the understanding that the so-called white men today are the Edomites, that wasn't there. The nations, the different nationalities of who they are, you know, the kingdom is coming. You know, we're going to get true justice when the Heavenly Father sends his son back. None of that was there. It says, and I will lay sinews upon you and will bring up flesh upon you and cover you with skin. And what is this? With nationality. But in this case, prior to the nationality coming, they were gathered together just based off of what they looked like and the struggles they were going through, right? And put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai. So now check this out. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise. Did I miss something? There's something that I was looking for. Oh no, we're going to keep going down. And put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and this is why it's important to go out into the highways and byways, you know, to the lanes and the hedges, and teach this word, because the Lord has an election that he's gathering by this word. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, see? And what is this noise? This is like a tumult, right? Let's go to the word noise real quick. There was a noise. The word noise is quawal. Voice, sound, noise, voice, sound of instrument, lightness, frivolity. So it was a sound, right? And then it goes, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking. Let's go to the word shaking. Ra'aish, quaking, rattling, shaking, earthquake, quaking, trembling of person, shaking, quivering of dart. So that's shaking, or like you see here, commotion, a confused noise, right? So that was the stirring up. The Lord was stirring Jacob, you know, to come together. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And this is what happened. You know, you had New York, you had the Black Panthers, you had the Blackstone Rangers, you had out in Chicago. You know, you had the Young Lords, you had the Brown Berets, you know, you had different factions that were opening up throughout the majority of the major cities in America. And what was a cause? We have a common enemy, you know, we have a common cause. We're being oppressed, you know. So what are we gonna do about this? You see? It says, and when I beheld, lo, the sinews and flesh came up upon them. Yeah, because they came together, you know, black power, so-called black power, you know, Latino power, whatever the case is, you know, all coming together. And then they had meetings among themselves, you know, the Young Lords and the Brown Berets and the Black Panthers and all that. You know, they acknowledged the plight that they all had. They had the same plight and had the same problem with the same oppressor. Okay? And the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. So there was still no breath in them, although they were coming together for this common cause and uniting as brothers. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind. Now, back in the days, certain individuals used to break this down and saying, prophesy to the wind, just speak into the air. Don't worry if anybody's not listening. Just speak into the air. God damn it. Salakia. Just speak into the air. Doesn't matter. Just speak into the air, even if nobody's listening. That was that was a consensus in certain cases. To prophesy to the wind. That's not what this is talking about. For the first time, I looked this word wind up this morning, right? And the word wind goes back to the word racha, which is spirit. So speak unto the spirit. In other words, pray unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai to send forth his spirit. See? Because that's the only way to properly and truly understand. And that's why Yahushai told the disciples, tarry in Jerusalem till you be endowed with power from on high. And once that Holy Spirit came upon them, that understanding, the power and all of that, then they were fully, on top of the understanding that Yahushua had opened up unto them, then the Spirit just sealed the whole deal. So they were pretty much a powerhouse after that, going out there and teaching. So Racha, wind, breath, mind, spirit, So pray unto the Spirit. Then he said, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy unto the Spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind or to the Spirit, thus saith the Lord, O power, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain. When you look up this word breath here, it also goes back to the word racha, breath. But then when you read on further, right, and it says, thus saith the Lord power, come from the four winds, O breath, or O spirit, and breathe upon these slain that they may live. And that word breathe upon goes into a Hebrew word, which is napach, right? To breathe, blow, sniff at, seethe, give up or lose life. To breathe, blow. To give understanding. Right? So let's get two precepts on that. First, let's go to the book of, actually 3. Let me bring this back here. Let's go to Genesis. Then from there, let's go to Proverbs. Then from there, let's go to Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Okay, good. So let's go. Genesis 2:7. And the Lord power formed man of the dust of the ground, took him out of that confusion. Because remember, when men, animal, everybody was on the same level. When we first were created, before knowledge and wisdom and understanding really took form in man to give man that authority, over all of the animals and fish and all of that. And breathed into his nostril the breath of life. Now this breathed should be the same word that we read, breathe. Napach, yep. So it says, and the Lord power formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostril the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So was Adam already living? Men were already living. But they became a living soul. How? Because they started to understand. There's a difference between walking and breathing and being alive, and just existing, and to know why you're here, know why, understand why, things are happening the way that they're happening. There's a big difference between the ones that can see and the ones that can't see. So now let's go to Proverbs 4. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Why? Because knowledge and wisdom without understanding is pretty much null and void. You have some people that could quote the Bible back and forth. You know, you say, well, what does it say in the book of Psalms 105 and 3? You know, and they'll quote the whole thing. Or what about Matthew 7 and 4? You know, they'll quote the whole, you know, what's the seventh commandment? They'll rattle it off, but they don't have the understanding. And that is the key. That's the key to life. That understanding. That is the true key to life. So when they were together, you know, Fred Hampton, you know, the Black Panthers, you know, the Blackstone Rangers, the different revolutionary groups that came out back then. You had the Young Lords, you had the Brown Berets, you had AIM, American Indian Movement. You know, you had many different factions back then that were coming together for the betterment of their people. Some of them were set up, but some of them were sincere. But regardless, they were all wrong because they didn't have that breath in them. So we go to Ecclesiastes chapter 17 and 1. The Lord created man of the earth and turned him into it again. He gave them few days and a short time, and power also over the things therein. He endued them with strength by themselves, and made them according to his image, and put the fear of man upon all flesh, and gave him dominion over beasts and fowls. Yeah, so even from the beginning, man was the top animal. How can you call somebody an animal? Well, the word animal simply means comes from the Spanish word anima, which means soul. You know, a living soul. So anything that's living is an animal. It says they received the use of the 5 operations. You know, seeing, smell, taste, hear, touch, right? And in the 6th place, he imparted them understanding. See, because the understanding is the most important. It says, and in the 7th, speech. So you have the understanding, then you have the speech, an interpreter of the cogitations thereof. In other words, to be able to interpret the thoughts. Not just think about it, not have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but not be able to speak it. You know? So that's pretty much it. It says, counsel in the tongue, and eyes, ears, and a heart gave he them to understand. Withal he filled them with the knowledge of understanding, and showed them good and evil. All right, so when we go to Ezekiel, they didn't have that understanding. You know, that's why they were coming together, beautiful, but they were missing key ingredients. So let's read this again, Ezekiel 37 and 9. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the spirit, unto the wind. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the spirit, thus saith the Lord power, come forth from the 4 winds, O spirit, and breathe upon the slain, that they may live. See, so it's one thing to be alive, you know, and be able to move about, but it's another thing to be awoke mentally. And this is what was going on. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them. Now you started to have what? The spirit that came into them. The spirit of understanding. See? The Racha, the spirit. And the spirit came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army, which we read earlier, that the Lord said he was going to set them in order before their face. And what happened when that great army started to amass? They got nervous. Esau got nervous. The nations got nervous. You see? And even Jake got nervous. The ones that are part of the 2/3. Because remember when the wise men came to Jerusalem and they gave that tiding, and they said, no, behold, we come to serve, you know, to see him that was born, you know, the king of Israel. He got nervous. Herod got nervous, and a bunch of Jakes got nervous that were there with him. See? It says, then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Why? Because you have 2 factions. You had the southern kingdom, which was led by Judah or Yahweh, and then you had the northern kingdom, which was led by Ephraim. And it's not a coincidence I believe that was Elder Malcolm that was speaking, doing a lesson, and he mentioned that about, at the same time when Jake or Judah, Yahweh and them was waking up and causing hell, coming together in that revolutionary spirit, you also had the so-called Latin tribes doing the same exact thing. Among Gad, you had something called AIM. Now, I'm not sure how far back that goes. I'm not an expert at that. Our elder Apostle Rakah would know better about that. But I know around that time you had a lot of uprisings from Jake speaking out against, the injustices of Esau. So this is the whole house of Israel being stirred up. It says, behold, they say our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. See, and this is what happened. We started to understand, and we was, now we understand why we're going through what we're going through. And then the Lord started to show the men, which they call the one Westers, the real truth. And this is where this whole thing stems from. Now you have individuals that just stumbled across this, had no idea, no clue that they were Israelites ever in their life. They heard about this, but now they said, nope, you guys are wrong. This is wrong. The 12 tribe sign is wrong. The mark of the beast is not the microchip. It's this, is that, it's the other. They're gonna correct everything now. But if it was left up to them Old Testament heads, if it was left up to these Jakes out here in the world of politics, in the world of religion, in the world of the so-called revolutionary movement, in the world of the so-called conscience community and so forth and so on, Jake would have never woke up, would have never found out that they were Israelites. That came from the one Westers. As they call us, the one Westers. And even those Old Testament heads that know that they're Jakes, they ain't making no noise. What are they doing? They've been around since what? Since the 1900s or 1800s? What great strides had they made to push the word out? None. They're still following behind Amalek. So the truth got to come from somewhere. Scripture said, thy eye shall hear, shall see thy teacher, and thy ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way. Walk ye in it when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. So where is that coming from? Where is the great awakening coming from? Through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, B'Shem Rakah Kodash, from what they call the one Westers. Preaching and teaching his truth. And these devils are getting nervous. Esau ain't nervous at those Old Testament heads. He ain't nervous at the black conscious community. He ain't nervous at the these different denominations of religions where Jake is at. He ain't nervous about none of that. They're nervous about the Hebrew Israelites. And that's why they're demonizing us, because they know that this is the truth. And in everything that Esau does, everything is about deception. Matter of fact, let's get a quick precept. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 55, and verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. See? So, anytime Esau signs any type of pact, any agreement, any covenant, he always breaks it. He says, and he hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet with a drawn swords. So I'm waiting for these different so-called black woke groups, these different, because you have among Gad, so-called North American Indian, so-called Latino, they have certain movements. I'm waiting for them to show where in the hell are they fulfilling prophecies in the scriptures of this where is this great awakening coming from? You got those that say only blacks are the 12 tribes of Israel. Where's your great movement at, so-called? Where's this great awakening where you out there and everybody knows about you and they're talking about you specifically as being, this threat? Because if we wait for you guys, we're in trouble. The Lord got this the same thing that you call false prophets and false leaders and a bunch of liars, this word is going out. This word is the Lord is making moves with this word. And we could see that the signs are here. We see all the signs speaking very clearly. The prophecies are popping off like popcorn from the pages of the Bible. Page after page after page after page after page after page after page. So the truth has to be out here. So you got it. And then these individuals, they don't really put in no work. Where's their work at to show that they are these endowed with the Spirit individuals that are bringing the word out? You're no different than the Black Panthers, except for you know that you're a Hebrew Israelite, but you won't come into the kingdom yourself, and then you stop those that are coming in. You know, you got individual brothers out there from the Latin tribes, and you know that the so-called North American Indian tribes. You know, even some of them that look like the other nations that's teaching His word, putting in work for the Lord Yahweh B'Shem El Shai through the Holy Spirit. What the hell are you doing? But yet you're going to talk about that, you know, that your way is the way. Come on, man. That's already been done before, and it's finished. All right, so let's go to Ezekiel 37:12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves. And that's what's happening. What is a grave? The grave is these different philosophies and religions that Jake is caught up into. You know, whether you're calling yourself Puerto Rican, Dominican, Black, whether you're calling yourself Jehovah's Witness, Christian, Roman Catholic, you know, Kemet, you know, whether you are calling yourself 5%er, whatever the case is, those are graves. And the resurrection from the grave is this word that's being used to raise up Jake out of that dead state. Let's go to St. John chapter 6 and verse 44. I started at 43. Yahushua therefore answered and said unto them, murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. So what is the vehicle that is being used to raise up, you know, Jake in these last days from the grave, from this dead state? This word that's bringing life, that's cleaning up the minds. People talking about someone being brainwashed. Yeah, brainwash is good, because brainwash means that your mind has been washed from all the filth. And now you see clearly, now that the rain is gone. Inside joke. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. So like I can't sing, so. All right, so let's go back to Ezekiel 37:12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves. And how did that happen? By this word. See, but now you have these leaders. Some of them don't know that they're Israelites. Some of them have an idea. Some of them questioning. And some of them know. And what are they doing? They're keeping you asleep for filthy lucre's sake. Micah 3:1. And I said, hear I pray you, O heads of Jacob, and ye princes of the house of Israel. Is it not for you to know judgment? So you're supposed to know judgment. So how can you know judgment if you don't know the truth? I'm going to read a couple of these precepts brothers putting up. Oh, wow. You brothers are on fire. All right. Luke. Being in a dead state of mind spiritually. Yep. Luke 5:31. And Yahushua answering said unto them that they that are whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. That's right. And the scriptures also say that the whole head is sick. Psalms 119:50. This is my comfort in my afflictions, for thy word hath quickened me. Yeah. It's about being quickened from that dead state. All right. Baruch 5:5. Arise, O Jerusalem, or Yerushalayim, and stand on high, and look about toward the east, and behold thy children gathered from the west unto the east by the word of the Holy One. Because it's by the word. It says, rejoicing in the remembrance of the Most High. Why? Because we have fell away. Arise and shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And that's why we were able to come to life, because the Spirit of the Lord has risen upon us. It says, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, which is the Israelite foreigners, and kings to the brightness of thy rising, because they're seeing it. You know, it says, lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together, they come to thee. Thy son shall come from far, and thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side. And how is that possible? Because the word of the Lord has gone out throughout the air, you know, throughout the internet, throughout the world. And it's still moving throughout the world. Psalms 119 and 25. And shalom, you know, to the elders and the Akim and the Akwath on the comment board that are watching. It says, my soul cleaveth unto the dust, quicken thou me according to thy word. 2 Ezra 2:31, remember thy children that sleep, right? For I shall bring them out of the sides of the earth, and show mercy unto them, for I am merciful, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai Almighty. Which this is dealing with those that are physically in the dirt, dead, but also spiritually dead. It says, embrace thy children until I come, and show mercy unto them, for my wells run over, and my grace shall not fall. Yeah, because there's a constant watering going on. You know, he that believeth on me, as the scriptures have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. And this is how the Lord is doing it. He's doing it by the mouth of his prophets. So going back to Micah 3:2, who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off their skin from off them. Yeah. So here it is. The Lord is putting the nationality of Jake back on them. And you have some that are trying to peel it back off, that are so-called leaders, even among Israel. When you keep calling somebody black, you know, you got to qualify that, man. You know, you got to say, look, man, you know, your true nationality is that you're Israelites, so-called black man, or so-called black woman, so-called Latino man, you know, so on and so forth. Because you're pushing the same. By you keep saying black man and Latino man and all that, you keep pushing the vibration of the world. And it's about bringing Jake out of the graves, not keeping him in the graves. It says, and their flesh from off their bones, yeah. Who also eat the flesh of my people, and flay their skin from off them, and they break their bones and chop them in pieces as a pot, and as flesh within the cauldrons. Because pretty much what you're doing is you're just setting Jake up for that great fall. It says, then shall they cry unto the Lord, but he will not hear them. Why? Because they don't have the proper flesh on them. They don't have the thawah. You're stripping them. When you call on the name Jesus and Christ, and when you call them black man, black woman, black Latino man, Latino woman, so on and so, you're taking the skin off of them. You're peeling off their nationality and putting on the world's nationality on them. He will even hide his face from them at that time, as they have behaved themselves ill in their doings. And they're going to cause a lot of these Israelites to be put to death, and their blood is going to be on your hands. So Ezekiel 37:12, therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. Right, because what is helping us come out of the graves? This knowledge, that great awakening, that remembrance. What is that in the book of Baruch, the 2nd chapter? You know, where it spoke about, you know, them remembering the Lord in their captivity, or something along those lines. That's all a part of it. And eventually that is going to lead to what? To us going back to the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am the Lord when I have opened your graves, O my people. Yeah, because prior to that, you calling on the Heavenly Father, God, His Son, Jesus Christ. But now you're going to know, well, this is Yahweh. This is His Son, Yahweh Shai. You know, they're so-called black men. They're not so-called white men as it was told us before. We're awakening from that great darkness that we were in, because the Lord is taking that veil and pulling it back. He's pulling the covers off and showing the truth for what it really is. And brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, see, and you shall live. Yeah, because that's what it's about. Having the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai upon us, that we may live. That you may live and never die. Inside joke. It says, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I, the Lord, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai. Now check this out. The caption here: reunion of Judah and Israel. Why? Because we were broken apart. Let's go real quick to the book of Zechariah. I believe that's the 11th chapter. And the 14th verse. Then I cut asunder mine other staff, even bands, that I might break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. And this is the key. That's the key. You know? You know, that's the key. That the Lord broke that brotherhood between the two tribes. But now what's happening is that brotherhood is being mended. It's Jeremiah 50 and 33. Thus saith the Lord, power of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Yahweh were oppressed together. See? And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. So this never happened in the other captivities. Because once we fell, you had a sprinkle of the other tribes among Yahweh, you know, the tribe of Judah, so-called tribe of Judah, and the other tribes. But it wasn't like it is now. The Lord is bringing all of the tribes back together, and we're all suffering. This is the reason why you had the Black Panthers, the Blackstone Rangers. You had the Young Lords, which are Ephraimites. You had the Brown Berets, which were, you know, Issachar. You know, you had the different groups among Gad that were speaking out against the oppressions that were going on. You know, AIM, American Indian Movement, you know, so on and so forth. Now, a lot of those top, you know, leaders, they were set up, but some of them weren't. Some of them were sincere, you know. And I believe this individual, Fred Hampton, which you can see a picture of him better down here, you know, I believe he was sincere, you know, but they just didn't have that breath in them. So it says, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Yahweh and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Yahweh, which is Joseph, the stick of Aparium, which is Ephraim, and for all the house of Yasha'Allah, his companions. Why? Because this is the whole nation coming back together. And this stick we have out there, you know, when we go out to speak, which is the 12 tribes chart, with the 12 tribes are the ancient names on one side and the modern day names that were given to us by our slave master, you know, that gave us those names like Negro, West Indian, Haitian, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, you know, Indian, North American Indian, Seminole Indian, so on and so forth, Mexican. You know, they're the ones that gave us those names. But now we're coming back together under our true identity. And that's why we have that 12 tribe sign. It says, and join them one to another into one stick. Why? Because the Lord is He's bringing that union. He's healing those wounds of separation between the two kingdoms. It says, and they shall become one in thine hand. And that's why when we go out there to speak, we have the 12 tribe sign. We don't have two signs, one with the southern kingdom and one with the northern kingdom. We have one sign with all the kingdoms joined together as one. Because that's the healing. That's the building up of the tabernacle of David taking place. It says, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? And we've seen that happen many times. People come up, they look at the sign. Well, what's this all about? I see I'm down here, Dominican or Puerto Rican or so-called black, or I'm Jamaican, and they ask questions about the sign because it's a conversation piece, because that's what the Lord said to do. And that's exactly what the Lord said would happen when you had that sign out there. Now, how is that happening with these other people, these other groups that claim that we have that 12 tribe sign is off and that we off and that we're false prophets, this and the other? Where is their examples of fulfilling this Ezekiel 37 at? Where's the example of the people coming to them and saying, what do you mean by this 12 tribe sign? What do you mean by that ain't happening. So somebody's telling the truth and somebody's telling a lie. You're saying we're false prophets, but you don't fit the prophecy of bringing the nation of Israel back together. So who's the real false prophet? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And this is what we're supposed to explain to them, that look, you're Israelites, and we the Lord's bringing us back together, and so on and so forth. And that gives the opportunity to bring that out and explain it if they're meant to get it. It says, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And say unto them, see, before their eyes, the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. Why? Because it's going to be joined together. And it's going to be out there so that they can see it. And this is why we have to be out in the streets. So that they can see and ask, inquire. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, because we're scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. This word the Lord is doing a great work with this word in gathering the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel from the four corners of the earth via the internet, which he gave these devils for that sole purpose, to seek out his children with candles, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Because this is what's happening. Where the Lord is waking Jacob, those that are part of the elect are going to make it, and their minds are going to be changed, and everything else that the Lord promised. And then the ultimate stop would be what? The land of Israel once again. And I will make them one nation in the land of the upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, which is King David, underneath Yahushai. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. Right? Because the Lord is healing that breach. It speaks about that in Amos 9, the 9th chapter, about the breaches thereof, closing the breaches thereof. It speaks about that in Ephesians, the 2nd chapter. How the Lord is breaking down that middle wall of partition. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, because that's what happened. That's why we ended up in the predicament that we were in. Nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their power. And you could read it's a few more verses, but I got to get ready to roll out, so to go to camp. So I have to finish getting together. So Lord's will, this was an edifying lesson. I pray that your brother's been edified. Like I said, Elder Bishop Ainab sent me this trailer, Judas and the Black Messiah. I watched it, and all kind of thoughts, pretty much Ezekiel 37 chapter was playing over my head. And, I said, Spirit hit me. I want to do a lesson on it. And boom, here it goes. And Ezekiel 37 chapter is very relevant, especially in these times that we're living in. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.